Welcome to the 24K Life podcast. I am your host, Derick Gant. You know, the 24K Life is all about figuring out how to get the best out of yourself so that you can demand a high value in society. 24K Life is all about setting your excellent boundaries so that you can elevate and understand how to navigate your life in a way that delivers everything that you know you deserve. So with that, you know, we focus on your mental health, your physical health, financial health. We will touch on some spiritual things, but not too heavy, and your communication and relationships. And today we have a doctor in the house. What? A doctor. And she ain't playing. When we talked and I asked her to join me on the 24K Life podcast, I did so before I checked her out, like detail checked her out. And I will tell you that Dr. Renée Baker has a bachelor's degree. She holds an MBA from Penn State, and she has a PhD from Wilmington University. She has spent over 3 decades in the investment world, and she has decided, and we'll find out when the decision was made and how it was made, but she decided to go into entrepreneurship. So she busted out of Wall Street, which I don't blame her. She's busted out, and she is hell-bent on helping people to fix their financial lives, to crush financial literacy. Dr. Baker, how are you?
Hello, I am doing absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I just love your energy, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I get excited when I get great people to talk to, and I get great people that I know for a fact are going to impact our community that's already impacting the world. And not to mention that you're fine as shit. And she's married, you all. I'm not flirting. I'm just stating the facts, and they are not alternative facts. And if you doubt me, just go ahead and go onto the YouTube channel, Derick Gant, 24K Life, and check it out. Now, this will go on Spotify, and I even saw the other day that it was on iHeartRadio. I was like, oh, shoot.
Look at you.
24K Life. I don't even remember submitting it there, but it's going everywhere. So I'm excited to talk to you because I can't wait to hear your spin on personal finance, on what you're doing. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I have been registered investment advisor in the state of Ohio for over 30 years. I have my own spin and ideas about it. Part of my spin is that money makes the world go round. And if you want your world to be better, you better get a handle on it and stop living in mediocrity so that you can get your money right, so that you can get your life right. You know, I mean, I always tell my clients, at least my male clients, like, look, money makes the honey better.
I like that spin. Yes. I mean, growing up, money is necessary, and some of us have expensive habits, and we need to make sure that we are figuring it out. Also, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but some of those cultural norms that we used to think about money growing up, we have had to change.
I can't wait to hear your views on that. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I honestly cannot wait to hear what you're going to say about it. Because, man, we were, especially in church, money was just like an issue. But we'll talk about that. But let's talk about your background. Before we get into how you transitioned into entrepreneurship, how did you get into personal finance? How did you go from I read your bio, and I know I left out a bunch of stuff. You're the co-founder or CEO founder of the RBI Group, and you'll tell us about the RBI Group a little bit later. But what was you were at Rutgers?
Yes.
So you're at Rutgers. Did you know you were going to be in personal finance when you're at Rutgers?
No. So even way before that, growing up, I thought I was going to be an astronaut. Loved everything I loved math and science, still do, but I loved everything. I would watch, I went to space camp. I would watch anything related to space, astronomy. I grew up in Southern New Jersey. So in southern New Jersey, you can look up in the skies and you look up in the sky, you see all the stars. And listen, I can tell you still today, Big Dipper, Little Dipper, I loved it. And then that trajectory certainly changed. The shuttle, the Challenger disaster happened when I was younger. And that made me think, well, listen, I didn't know about occupational risk and hazards back then. And that certainly impacted me. So then I went on to Rutgers thinking initially that I was going to be a doctor. Now, ultimately, I became a doctor, but I wanted to be a medical doctor at that time. And what happened was I was so involved and I cared about the people. I would always ask questions, especially when we got to the cadavers. I wanted to know their stories. I had a lot of questions. And my one of the counselors at the time said, pulled me to the side and said, you seem to be very focused on the people, and that is emotion that you can't have. And she said, maybe you should consider moving into finance or business where you wouldn't have so much focus on the people.
Really?
Which looking back at that now, the best thing that ever happened to me, one of the best things that ever happened to me, but the worst advice I'd ever received, because my entire career, including today, has been all about people.
Right. But that's just, it's sad. It's almost sick to go, well, you want to help people heal, or you want to heal ailments, but we can't care about the people.
That's right.
And I understand not getting attached to the degree that you can't do your job, but man, who should be caring about people more? Your caretakers. That is just crazy that's the MO of Western medicine.
Yes. And I often, when I reflect back on that time and I think about that decision, I also look through it through the lens of things happen for us, not to us. And I've had this amazing career in finance, and I have truly, truly feel blessed that I did get that horrible advice, because it took me on a journey that I would have never gone on had I not been moved in this direction. And there is no time more important, especially now, that people that look like me or look like you need to be in this conversation. And it changed the trajectory of not only my life, my family, and those individuals, especially in my town, and just overall people that I've been able to impact and represent over these years.
So, I don't know how many of my podcasts you watch, but I'm all over the map because I have to go with what pops in my mind. So what do you think about all the craziness? There's this dichotomy that, it's going to hit the fan, but the economy is still growing. So no matter what the Fed does, the economy is still growing, but people are hurting and probably spending money they don't have and shouldn't be spending, but the economy is still growing. And I don't really understand it, even with all my years of expertise. That's why I want to know what your opinion is. I just think people are nuts. I think they're so blindsided about tomorrow that they're just nuts. But that's a very layman's term description. What's your opinion about just the vibe right now with and I'm not even talking about the wars and all that stuff. I just mean economically. What's your position?
I find it interesting because what we learned in academia, what we see in the data, nothing makes sense, right? No. So how you always have the disclaimer: past performance is not indicative of future results. Exactly. And that's kind of where I'm at. Gotcha. It's really interesting because, like you said, there's all this conversation about this pending recession. We've been hearing that for years, right? Right. When you go out into a restaurant, and I've been traveling extensively, so I'm not just talking about where I live. I'm saying I went to 10 or 12 cities last month, and everywhere I've gone, people are out. They're at restaurants. They are shopping. I have seen so many people walking around with so many designer goods. Yep. But when we start having the conversation around what they're doing about their money, people are not worried about that at all. So what I think that is happening is the world is going crazy, and people have decided that they're going to do the thing that makes them happy and brings them the most joy. And they're not thinking about things long term. When we want people to have a long term perspective, especially when it comes to money and finance, but people are doing the things that are bringing them joy. And I also believe some of that is from the pandemic. It's like when we were, I don't know about you, but and as a child, if I were put on punishment, I wasn't put on punishment that often. But when I was not able to do something, I wanted it more. Right. And more. And that still happens today. You telling me you telling me I can't be successful as an entrepreneur? Oh, I want it more. And I think that people are doing the same thing. They're still making up for what the time they feel that they missed during the pandemic. They're doing the things that bring them the most joy today. And they're putting all money, economic things to the wayside. So that's what I think is going to happen. Now, what that is, the next pandemic that's going to happen as a result of that, and I don't mean in a health way, is that there are going to be some real challenges when it comes to personal finance. And I think that is why there is a more important need for people to be educated and empowered about what it takes to manage their money and their financial goals.
Well, I don't disagree with that at all. It's very perceptive. I don't travel as much as you, so I appreciate your disposition. But you don't need to travel to take a look at social media and see these fools in different places every week. I struggle, and I've said this before on other podcasts, because I was a tyrant. When I was married, my wife said she wanted a new house, and it wasn't just like a house. It was, I want a house. I was like, okay. But so I put us on a budget and the spending plan, and we ended up getting the house. And, the reason why I say I was a tyrant was because I just felt like when you wanted to do something, you needed to strategically plan for it. And then you needed to be myopic. And then you can change later. And, so I'm not as much of a tyrant anymore. I talked to my sister years ago, because this chick, she takes 4 or 5 major vacations a year. And I'm talking about, we're taking one, she's taking 4 or 5 a year. And I'm like, one day I just got like, I don't know. I wasn't frustrated. I don't know what I was, but I asked her, I called her in the middle of the day. And I was like, I got to understand this, because more people are like you than like me. And I need to understand these people that I'm trying to help. So we talked about it. And so long story short, she was like, look, if my whole thing in life is to have my next vacation planned, so when I'm working, I know what I'm working for. And so I'm working towards that next deal. And I'm like, okay, I'm working so that I can retire, so that my kids can go to college, so that I can have enough money that if it hit the fan, I'm good for 2 years. That's what I'm doing. And nobody else is, not no one, but normal people aren't thinking that way. And so I softened up a bit and decided, okay, how about we save some more money, meaning her, and you take 3 vacations a year versus 5, and save the 2 that you were. And she kind of hemmed and hawed and did it. But let's get back to you. Tell me about.
Can I say something about that budget thing? Because I always think about, no one likes the B word, right? When it comes to budget, and whenever I talk about budgeting, I talk about crafting a budget that fuels your ambitions and not just your limitations. So I really appreciate what you said. That you can still have your vacations. We're not saying stop. We're saying that at the intersection of dreams and reality, you need to be able to have a blueprint that exceeds just your dreams. So I really do like that you said that, and I call that an empowered budget. And it changes the way that people look at the B word instead of that way, and they receive it differently. So I do appreciate your perspective on that. So sorry, I just had to interject that in.
Well, no, I appreciate that, but I will be honest and tell you that that didn't happen until I was in my 40s. I was a tyrant I was tight for a long time. I tell people all the time, if you work with me, you got to be ready, because I'm serious. And if you tell me, this is what I don't get. People will say, I want to buy a house. And then they do everything in their universe except, like, as far as allocating their money, except towards the house. I'm like, okay, no. we can't buy furniture before we get the house. We can't get a new car before we get the new house. And we can't go on 3 vacations before we get the new house. You don't want the house. Or at the very minimum, you don't want it when you said you did. And people would just look at me like, I hate you because you're right, you know? And so like, if you don't want the house, fine. Just tell me so we can plan a different strategy. And they're like,
yeah,
no,
some people like the idea of many things, not just the house, right? They like the idea of it, but not thinking strategically so that they can do what they need to do to get it. And that's the thing. You got to take charge and prioritize. But I can't tell you how many people I know say, you're buying a car before you get the house. One, you're going to have the inquiry. You're impacting your debt to credit ratio.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get together here. So there's a lot. It's people always think they know a lot about money, but it's they don't know a lot about finance, and it's not in a bad way, right? No one wants to feel like they don't know, but it's not what you know, it's actually what you do. So you 100%. Lead by example by what you were saying, for sure.
Yeah, I get it. So I can see we flow together because we got the same disposition. So, but tell me about that disposition. So you were at Rutgers. Did you go to work in the real world, or did you go straight to Penn State for your MBA?
No, I worked in the real world. I worked in the real world my entire college experience. You know, I did not have my family did not have the resources to get me through school. I had to get myself through school. I was a young parent, so that, you know, I had a lot of things that I needed to be responsible for. So I worked in the real world, went to school, and once I left a university, I was able to get a job, and I started the Finance Society at my campus. So that really put me in a really good position to have a conversation. Your girl was networking before they were actually talking about what networking was what we were really supposed to be doing. But yeah,
I'll tell you what. I looked at your social media, not all of them, just LinkedIn, and I'm like, man, I need to take her course on networking because she done got more awards and more stages and more shaking hands. I'm terrible at that stuff. And I'm like, I need to take her course because she is everywhere. And you just proved it by saying you were in 12 states in the last 30 days. So
oh yeah, I was on a road show. But what I'll tell you about that, just for people listening, because I do think this relates to even a conversation around personal finance. I'm more relational than I am transactional. And that, you know, does have an impact. I think that's a positive impact on my decision to become an entrepreneur. But even back then, many relationships have been cultivated over years. Right. And I network not when I need. I don't always have an ask. I mostly want to build meaningful, long-term relationships. And I'm not the one that's always going to come into a conversation with the ask. And there are many people who do that. But many of my relationships have been over decades that I've cultivated and kind of grew up in the industry with. So that's become a really positive thing. And when I'm, now, since I've moved from up north and I'm in Florida now, over the last 6.5 or almost 7 years, I've been really focused on just meeting really good people, just like you said, like you do, just meet really good humans and be in alignment with them. And then not everybody is going to be my friends, but at least we can share some alignment on how we see the world and how we can ultimately support each other. But it is certainly not just take, but it's a reciprocal relationship.
No, you're 100% right. I was I even look at my own stuff and I'm like, man, you don't ask enough. It's too much giving, or it's not balanced. So there's no such thing as too much giving, but it's just not balanced. But recently I heard this story about Steve Harvey, and he went to this billionaire for some advice. And it's not necessarily the participants, except for the status of who they were. So you have this guy that's successful and this guy that's uber successful. And when he set the appointment up, the billionaire's personal assistant said, "Hey, you got 30 minutes." And and he doesn't have any meetings that last longer than 30 minutes. Have you heard this story before?
No.
No? Okay. And so, and I'm saying this for the listeners, not necessarily for you,
Oh
but
yeah.
since you haven't heard this,
I'm here.
it makes it a little bit more interesting. And so he got this appointment with this billionaire, and he goes in, he meets with the guy, and he's looking at his watch like, I only got 30 minutes, so let me get, what I want. So he's asking the guy about, how he got where he was and what's the most important aspects of running his life and yada, yada, yada. And so 30 minutes came and went, and he's still talking to the guy. So he's like, okay, well, as long as he wants to talk to me, I'm going to talk to him. Yada, yada, yada. He was there for 7+ hours. And when he left, he asked the personal assistant, he said, hey, I'm really confused. You guys had this hard rule on this 30 minutes, but the guy had me here all day. He served me lunch and, what's going on? What happened? She goes, well, you were the first person, never ask him for anything.
See?
Didn't ask him for anything. Didn't ask him for money. Just wanted wisdom, insight. Right. Help me out. And I thought that was super dope and appropriate. It reminded me of obviously, King Solomon, if that's a true story, asking God for wisdom versus, silver and gold. So
that's right. You can do so much more sometimes with the conversation if you take action. And that's a whole different topic, right?
No, that is not a different topic. Don't move off that because let's go to the earlier sprinkling that you were doing about like church people, right? So it's like Malachi 3:16 or 3:26, open up a window and have blessings more that you can pour out. No, open up the window and then go to work. Open the window and go out the door and go to work, because the people are so tied up into the secret, right? The law of attraction. But I go, hey, there's another law. It's called the law of action. Action.
And my former corporate job, they used to call me Action Jackson. Okay, begin, do, action. Because how many times, and when you think about personal finance, someone said, oh, we have so many people who are talking about personal finance, and we still have people who don't take action. We have people who talk about health, right? We still have people who don't take care of their health, right? We have people, we know so many things. The recipes are there, right? I cook. I don't love cooking like some people, but I know if I take action and follow the recipe, I'm going to get an outcome.
A great meal,
so many people do not take action. So I'd rather spend 7.5 hours with someone that's going to give me some wisdom, that's going to help me be better and continue to get better every day, and then take action on that. But sometimes people like the conversation more than they like the work that's involved for the outcome. Well, and I think that is the challenge. Everyone wants everything fast and now, but we don't get the
society.
Fruit. Yeah, we don't get the fruit the same day that we plant the seeds. So
most people forget
that's the issue.
Well, I'm not going to ask you the normal questions, so I'm glad that we didn't go down that path, because you're too interesting to ask all that normal stuff too. So but here's something I want to ask that's not technically normal, right? I want to know about your decision, the process, and the implementation and the results, because you threw in a little sprinkle that you were a mom young. And there's so many, and I'm assuming you were single. So there's so many, young mothers that let life stop them from delivering their greatness, from them discovering their gifts. So tell us about that part of your journey.
Yeah. So although I wasn't single at the time, I am also a person who, I always say, I grew up with so much love and so much support. So I'm very, very blessed. I'll say this too, because maybe this is not everyone's story, but my story is similar to many people and not a story that I've always been feeling comfortable to share. But what I'll say is, until now, I'm happy to share. But what I'll say is, I've always had a family unit. It takes a village. And I'm very fortunate that my parents, my family was really there to help me. Although I wasn't single, my family was very here to help me.
Okay. Good.
So one of the things that I grew up, my parents don't have a college education. but no one is more tenacious or outgoing than my mother, and no one is more gentle. I would say my husband is nice and very kind, but my dad is very, very gentle. And
Gotcha.
what happened during that time is it didn't matter. The goal was to finish what you start.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to school. I would say I had a kid on one knee and a book on the other. I went to school. I never thought about not doing it. It never occurred to me to not go to school.
Right.
And then sometimes my being naive has been a gift for me
I
because I don't know
agree.
what I don't know. So I'm thinking I never thought it was supposed to be hard. I never thought it was hard. I thought it was just part of the process, right? Part of the
Right.
journey. So I went to school. I was still very active. I still did all the things. And when I went to go work on Wall Street, when I went to work in finance, I didn't know that I had a place, right? And we can talk about that too. I didn't know that I had a place, and
Right.
I didn't know that I was supposed to, I was the only one. That wasn't the conversations we were having in the 90s. So I went and did what I was supposed to do. I showed up how I showed up. And I mean, I'm from a small town, right? So I also didn't know big city lights and all of that stuff. So I definitely brought my small town personality and high maintenance personality to Wall Street. But the reality was sometimes not knowing is the best thing when you can keep going. And
Exactly.
that's what I did. So late nights, early mornings. And here's another thing. I commuted from New Jersey, from South Jersey, by the way, for
Mhm.
those who are listening and know, I commuted from South Jersey to New York City for multiple decades. And
Wow.
that is a long commute, but I use that time to read, to write, we didn't have Blackberries in the beginning. I didn't have Blackberry in the beginning. I use that time to the best of my ability. I also use that time on the train or in the bus in those early days to network. I met the most amazing humans, but I use that time to my benefit. So sometimes, you know what, Derick, you know how it is. You do what you have to do. And then looking back now, I'll say, how the heck?
Yeah.
I
Did I
don't
do
know
that?
how I
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah. Well, what's so funny is that you're so right. I can almost remember the day that I realized I had a place and I was supposed to stay in it because I had never known I had a place, and
Right.
I definitely wasn't gonna stay in it.
Like stay in
so
your lane. This is the
yeah,
highway. I'm all over the place.
you're like, no, this whole highway is meant for everybody, and I just because I'm going faster doesn't mean that I'm breaking the speed limit. So you just going slow. So anyway, I that is interesting. Now what I didn't share with you all is that Renee is on the board of the Susan G. Komen Foundation. She's the investment manager. She's also a fiduciary on she's the board member and treasurer for IDEA Charter Schools. She's Committee for Girls Inc. Is it Pinellas?
Pinellas County.
Pinellas County, United Way, Suncoast. I mean, you just doing it all.
Yeah,
How many
I
kids do you
love
have?
it.
How many young people do you have?
I have, well, they're not young anymore. So we started young and finished young.
All right.
So don't regret
Hey,
that,
I'm with
actually.
you on that one. I had my first
I do
at
not regret
24.
that.
I was
I was
24 with
young.
my first, so I got men now. They good.
They're
But
good, and
you
I'm
are
happy.
active. You're
Yes,
active. Are you still active on all these boards?
active. I'm very active, and the thing that when you're raising kids, so my community outreach first was about putting good humans into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So when my kids were growing up, the focus was making sure that we did what we need to do to take care of them so they can become the amazing, loving, good humans they are today. So more involved in their activities, but now as an empty nester, proud empty nester, I nothing is more rewarding to me than giving back to the communities where I live and work and serve. So all of the things that I'm involved in have very important meaning to me personally, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's the amazing work that is done at Susan G. Komen, where we have the opportunity to help so many women and hopefully end breast cancer.
Yeah.
As we just finished Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So this is also a reminder for everyone to get your mammograms. And yes, men get breast cancer too. So do your check.
Do your check.
And do your check, please. And then the other part is the community work, with Girls Inc., Pinellas, and raising young women who are so strong and bold and empowered. And that is such meaningful work to me, especially as a girl mom. So that's something that we want to do to be able to help young women continue to be successful in life and the leaders of tomorrow, the power of now. And the work that I get to do, because these are all volunteer options. This is work that I choose, right? I could be doing anything else, but I choose to do this work. And also really important is the work that I get to do at United Way Suncoast, where I am the chair of the Admiral Society and working with the kids at IDEA. So everything that I do is interconnected. I'm heavily focused on what does it take to navigate and eradicate barriers and social barriers and helping the next generation grow up. And
you're a bad sister. You're just a bad sister.
I appreciate that. It's just so important to give of my time. I don't watch TV. So
you don't have time.
I don't have time, but my view of the world is through the things that I choose to do. And I say no a lot more than I say yes. But when I say yes, I am all in.
I love it. We do really favor a lot. I sat on so many boards for so long, and my criteria for those boards were old people and kids. If it had something to do with the elderly or kids, I was all in. I rarely would say no. So I've done all the Boy Scouts and all those boards. And so I can appreciate that greatly. We also have another similarity, and that is I used to be an adjunct professor teaching professional development, and I see that you are an adjunct professor.
Thursday.
And I had to add that to the list just to make sure everybody understands how prolific you really are.
Every Thursday in Hot Pink and Hills, I am at the University of South Florida. And you see me smiling because I love hanging out with those students. I love pouring into those students. And that is also a reciprocal relationship. I've been teaching there even when I was in my corporate role, traveling, and no matter what my schedule is, I make sure I get back on Thursday so I can spend the time with those students. And they bring me so much joy. It's not about a paycheck. You already know that's not going to make you wealthy.
No,
that's not going to help.
That's a give back. That is 100% give back.
But I enjoy.
You spend what they pay you. You spending gas there and back.
I would say that's shoe money.
Yes, maybe there you go.
But I really enjoy the time, and even just staying. It also helps me stay relevant on what's happening. I love both finance and marketing. I would say I'm at the intersection where marketing and finance meet. But what I do enjoy is also they just keep me abreast. I feel like they keep me young too, especially now that my children are out of my 3 daughters are out of the house.
Ooh, but your poor husband.
Oh yeah.
Your poor husband. Oh my God. Oh, yeah. I always wanted a daughter, and I just kept picking out boys. And you got 4 women and that poor man. No wonder he's so nice. He didn't have a choice.
He didn't have a choice. And my dad is a girl dad too. So he's so my dad, so it's my sister and I'm the oldest. And then my husband and I, we have 3 girls. So yeah, he is quiet and just like
he already knows he's experienced. Yeah. So, we're going to have to interview again because there's just so much on this table, and there's so much that we can add to the world to share your story and your experiences. But before we have you go, I really want to know about the RBI group and what work you all are doing there. So we've talked about all your community service and your pouring into the young people on the university campuses. But tell us about your company and what you do and what your purpose and your mission is for your company.
Oh, well, yeah. So RBI Group was launched in August of this year. So it's very new, but the work itself is not.
Mm-hmm.
And I start this by saying this quote first as I tie into the work that we do. That the James Baldwin quote, that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And that is the focus and the importance of why the RBI Group leads with financial education with the goal to educate, empower, and elevate individuals and organizations when it comes to personal finance.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the core of the work that we do. The RBI Group is comprised of there's a marketing piece and there's a personal finance and financial education piece. And people will say, well, what? How? What? These are the things that are important. These are the things that I love. This is at the intersection of where I'm at. The work that we do for personal finance and financial education is through RBI Wise, which is our financial literacy and financial education division. And we have programs.
One second. So for those of you that are listening, it is the RBI Group / RBI hyphen Wise, WISE. So I'm telling you, you need to go check that out. And I didn't want to really interrupt you, but I wanted to make sure that our listening audience can find you and they can get you and they can learn more about how you're helping the world. Go ahead.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that, because I wanted to highlight that. So thank you for doing that. And I want to encourage people. We talked about taking action. We have to take action to address situations in our life, even if they feel scary or overwhelming. And we do have the power to create change, even if it's small, especially when it comes to financial education and personal finance. And through the work that we do, we want to meet people where they are at. So that is why that is such an important piece of the work that I'm very passionate about. And then on the marketing side, just making we are focused in the financial services industry and taking the information. I spent a lot of my career just distilling data and information and making it snackable and relatable to people. So we have the ability to partner with asset managers, wealth managers, and financial advisors so that we can help amplify their presence. So that's where we are today. And as you know, businesses continue to evolve, and we are evolving as well. But what I will tell you, for those that are thinking about it, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead a little bit.
No, you're fine.
For those that are thinking about, entrepreneurship, people thought I was absolutely insane for leaving my job, that amazing job, and leaving it to start on my own. And what I will tell you is that it was all about taking action. I believe heavily in myself. I believe in controlling my own life story, my own narrative. And I no longer wanted to sit at somebody else's table when I was also the person that was bringing the tools. And we don't get more time in this world.
Nope.
But I can get another title. I can create a title. Titles they mean something to some people, but they don't mean anything to me. What matters most to me is the ability to have an impact in the life, to leave a legacy for my family, and make sure that I'm leaving somebody, even if it's not everybody, a little bit better off than I left them. And I know that I did that in my corporate career. And I know that I get up every single day doing this work that I no longer call hard, because I say, no, this is hard. I've chosen this hard. But no, this is not hard. This is easy. This is meant to be, and this is the destiny that has been laid out for me. So this is what I'm so passionate about, and I truly believe that the best is yet to come, and that we can build wealth and help achieve our financial goals no matter where we are in our lives.
I think now is, first of all, that was extremely well said. Notice I didn't say one word or even motion anything. I almost start crying because I'm a dude, but that was touching, and maybe it's touching to me because I know how bad people need that message, and not just the message, they need the action. So, I get frustrated and tired with, continuously trying to help people understand what's going on, and you continuously see people I see people, go out and get a vehicle that's $800 a month, and their mortgage is $1,700 a month, and then they tack the insurance and the gasoline on top of that, and they're dang near at $1,300 a month, and you're like, how much do you have saved? Anyway, I'm not going to go there, but I appreciate another warrior out there making sure that the message is being spread. And I personally look forward to seeing more and more of your content, and I will be sharing it, because that's the only way we can get the word out, is to actually, broadcast. And in your marketing company, I'm preaching to the choir, but that's when you go on social, the engagement is nice and the likes are nice, but it's the sharing and letting more eyes see the solutions that's critical. So, okay. When you come back, and I don't know if you noticed how I worded that. Yeah. But when you come back, I want to talk about your relationship with your husband, yes, because that is a huge issue for a lot of people. Finding a great relationship, having a powerful partner like you. We haven't talked about him, so I'm not sure what he does or doesn't do. And it doesn't really matter what he does or doesn't do, but how he does what he does and how he handles such a powerful partner. Because guys have issues with that too, right? They don't. That's true. They say they want a powerful woman until they get one, and then they're like, yeah, that ain't gonna work. So I want to talk about that.
One thing I'll say really quickly, and we can talk about it later, but it's also about knowing the dynamic and knowing where you do have a place. So we can talk about that.
Yeah, no, we're gonna talk about it, because that's the key, right? That is the key. Mm-hmm. So stay in your lane and appreciate what you bring to the table. But anyway, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how you brought your girls up. And I don't mean, I mean financially, because like I was in my son's hind parts about, and I wasn't a tyrant with them, but I made it appropriate. Like, so when we were buying shoes, they wanted to go to prom and they listed all this stuff they wanted. I never said we can't afford it. I said, okay, well, you can't have all that at once. So what do you want first? And what are you going to do? And so I want to know about how you did that with your kids, and how people can do that with their young people, and why they should do that, because changing a generation's mindset is critical. And then I want to talk about AI. There's so much stuff I want to talk about with you.
We have so much.
I'm telling you. So that's why I said when, because that's why I said when, because there's so much to talk about with you. And you just can't talk to everybody, because they have their own agenda and they're trying to push their thing, which is great. I want them to come on here and push their thing, but I also want to help people elevate. And so many people are a little nervous about this AI thing and their job and security. And I love the fact that you said, the future's never, you didn't say exactly the future's never been brighter, but you kind of said it's a great opportunity. Yes, the best is yet to come.
We're fortunate to be in this time frame, whether we realize it or not. So yeah, there's so many things that to help us see the realization and see the positive, because a lot of this stuff, there's a lot going on, and pain is going to be part of life, but we have to make it purposeful and purpose driven, and try to and do our best to make the most of the situations that are ahead of us. So lots to talk about. And my 3 girls who I'm going to make listen to this are the best case studies of why you teach your children financial education. These are amazing, beautiful young ladies.
Well, we already know they're gorgeous. I mean, your husband only has to be a 5 for them to be a gorgeous. So
thank you.
Tell him I'm just playing. Tell him I'm just playing. So anyway, you know what? I'm not going to try to close by topping what you just said. So hold on one second. I'll be right back. All right, you all. One of my most fun interviews yet, and I've had some really good interviews. Wow, Renee is Dr. Renee. Let's not play with her name. Dr. Renee is the ish. Okay, listen, go to her website and check it out. Here's the thing: the rbigroup.com. /RBI-Y. She's got some free content there for you if you want to go pick it up. Now, here's the thing I want to share with you. Everybody thinks they're doing okay, or they're doing great, or they're fine, or they don't need it. And that's fine. My suggestion, and notice I'm pausing so that you listen to me. My suggestion is that you go there and you check it out regardless of your status in life. Because if you're doing great, then you now have a position and a spot to send other people that you encounter that aren't doing so great. And you can help them elevate their position in their life. I'm Derick Gant. Listen, like, share, and subscribe. And most importantly, let us know what you felt about this segment. Leave us some notes, leave us some insights. And if you can find it in your heart to share it, we would love that. We want to save the world financially. Didn't talk to you about this, and we're going to talk about it at some point in the future, but 85% of people are living check to check. That just simply means we got a lot of work to do. So if you are the one that's doing great, go to the RBI group and share it. Go read it, share it, copy, paste it, send it off in a link. You got to check this chick out. Dr. Chick, I'm sorry. So listen, do it. Don't hesitate. I'm Derick Gant. Be your best. Bring your best. Leave nothing to chance.